Okay, hello. I want to show you an interesting set of number jumps within Lucas numbers. This is one that I've done before, and this set of numbers connects to Pluto and to 9/11. Okay, it's one that I did before Christmas actually. And I think I called it 9/11 Christmas sequence. Um, and there's a reason why I called it the Christmas sequence, because within this set of Lucas numbers there is actually a number jump that takes you to Christmas. I'm not going to go through that one right now, but I'm going to go through the one that concerns Pluto more so. Okay, and um, what do I want to say about this? I just want to say a big thank you out to Lambda 115 and like Zenith of the Alpha and people like that have put all this information out there about Pluto to begin with. Otherwise, these numbers that I've come across wouldn't have really meant much to me, and I wouldn't have gone and looked at numbers that are on the Wikipedia page and so forth and so on. And Lambda's latest video, he's got a shout out to the people that he got the information from as well. So big thank you to all those people, because without those people, this wouldn't be happening, or at least it wouldn't be happening the way it's happening now. Anyway, I'm not going to mess around too much talking. I'm just going to delve straight into it, right? So, and there's a couple of things. If you go watch the previous, this other video that I did before Christmas, it'll explain this a little bit better. But I'm going to just rattle on with this. So what I'm going to tell you is that this is the midpoint of the table. This is all to do with balancing things out, and that's the midpoint, the balance point for the for what we're dealing with here today. Okay, and actually we're going up to this point here, up to the number 12. Okay, and so this is what we're dealing with, is these numbers right here, through along to here. Okay, and this is the midpoint we're using. Okay, that is explained in a lot of my other videos. I don't have time to really mess with it too much today, but anyway, you'll see something interesting already there. Let's get rid of some of this jazz here real quick. The first thing I want to say is that this 1118 can be reduced very cleverly into a 2 here. The 11 comes down into a 2 and the 18 into a 9. Okay, so why I say that's clever is because we reduce these individually to a 2, 9, and if we add them together, we get our 29 here. That's how this sequence works. Okay, but this is special because these two numbers in themselves reduce to individual characteristics of this number. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, and we can do something very interesting with this number. We can just put a little cross in here, yeah, because we're talking about balancing here, and then you'll see something kind of interesting, that there's some sets of numbers in here that sort of cross one another, and those two numbers that cross one another are 911 and 218. Okay, so this is important. These numbers are important. 218, super duper important to what would you call it? The birth of Pluto. The day it's found is the 18th of February, or discovered. Okay, I think that's when it's discovered. So it's very important. I think there's another 218 in there to do with the orbits or something. I can't remember what it was now, but anyway, not to worry, because we've also got the 911 in here, and I'm going to show you this sequence now, and this 911 is going to become very, very important, because if we go from 911, and what we want to do is we want to take all these numbers here right at the start of the sequence all the way up to this midpoint, and what we're going to do is we're going to add those up, and that will come to 28. Notice that 28 again, like the 218 there. So that will add up to 28. If we go from 9/11 back 28 days, it's going to take us to 8 14. Okay, that is August the 14th, right? So what is really interesting and what makes this so fascinating is the fact that if we take this next lot from 18 on up to here, okay, and we come down and we come around this, okay, boom to there, what we end up with here is we end up with 814. So that is extremely interesting. Okay, we've gone back 28 days. So 28 days later, 28 days later, the film from 814 takes us to 911, and then the rest of this lot here adds up to 814. Now, if we add these two numbers together, the 28, or basically everything that's here now, I'm going to have to delete some of this here in a second, it's getting messy, but this whole bunch here adds up to 842. Okay, now you'll notice that 842, if you read it backwards, is the orbital period, or the sidereal orbital period, or sidereal. I don't know how you say that, but I just like saying sidereal. Orbital period for Pluto, 248 years. Okay, so that is extremely, extremely interesting. And the reason why I was linking it to Christmas, I think, was if you put a 0 on the end of this and you went from 9/11 2001, this happened to take you up to 8,140 days. If I'm remembering correctly, that takes you to Christmas. So that was the link with Christmas, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. Anyway, it's in that other video. So that's pretty interesting as well. Okay, so we got all these links to like rebirth and coming back into balance, and the reason why that's interesting with Christmas is because, of course, Christmas is to do with sun-moon balance, and so it's interesting that this year, this 2023, just gone, was that number jump there, 8,140. Okay, so let's get rid of some of this. So that's super duper interesting, right? And you can see all those numbers there with that 8. Well, anyway, with that 814, let me tell you something, because this will move on into the next part of this now. Is I started looking at the orbits and stuff like that, and what you'll notice is with the synodic orbit of Pluto is 366.73 days. Okay, so if you minus off a year, 365 and a quarter, it's going to give you this many days difference. Okay, 1.48 days difference. So it takes an extra 1.48 days for Pluto to get back to roughly the same spot in the sky. Okay, when we're observing it, I guess is the way you would look at that, right? Now, we were just, what were we just on with this 814? Okay, so this is really super interesting. Okay, that this difference here between the Sun and Pluto, between a regular calendar year, the Sun, okay, 365.25 days, and Pluto's orbit that we can see is, well, we can see the other one as well, but I guess I don't know if we can see the other one, whether that's just all calculated. Is that would be interesting to know, actually. 366.73 days. The difference is 1.48 days. Okay, so almost 1.5. So that's also another nice little, I don't know, synchronicity there with the Lucas numbers and that 814 that's in there, right? But this got me kind of number doodling again, because I was like, well, I started I was like, well, how many years exactly is the, what are we talking about? Because it didn't really give me the years for the synodic orbit on Wikipedia. Okay, so if we come over here now, I can show you the number of years that that thing takes, okay? Or at least the way I'm calculating it. I'm probably completely wrong. There's probably a reason you don't do it like this, but who knows? There's some interesting numbers coming out of it anyway. So what I did is, we're slipping 1.48 days every year, okay? So what we need to do is we need to figure out, how many times 1.48 goes into just a regular calendar year, so we can see how long that'll take to get back around to the start again. So if we do 365 and a quarter divided by 1.48, that's going to give us the number of years that it takes for that, to keep adding up these 1.5 days all the way around till we get back to the start, okay? So anyway, that comes out at, let's get rid of some of this. It comes out at 246.79 years, which is not the same as the sidereal orbit, which is 247.94 years. So we've got over a year's difference there. Okay, here's the number of days that orbit is, and here's the years. Okay, so where do I go from here? Well, we just minus one from the other, and that gives us our difference. Okay, which is 1.15 years difference. Okay, Back to the Future, what date do they go back to? Or what date is time travel invented with Doc? Remember the 5th of November, yeah? Lambda, you're going to like, that's a nice little reference there for Lambda. Okay. Anyway, we're 1.15 years difference in orbit. So what we really need to do is we need to have a look at like the start of, or where one orbit goes and where the other orbit goes, and then as Christmas does, it meets those two things in the middle. So the sun and the moon meet in the middle, and that's why we have Christmas where it is. Okay, so what we want to do for Pluto, I guess, is we want to balance the two orbits out. The one that we measure against the stars, and the one that we measure against whatever we measure against, just what we see in the sky. So what I did is I did 1.15 years, which is what that, and I just did it times, I want to get back to days, I just did it times 365 and a quarter. And that gave me 420 days. If I'm doing something wrong, please somebody tell me. But anyway, 420 days difference between the two cycles, between the sidereal orbit and the synodic. Total number of orbits to get kind of close back to, in alignment with the sidereal. Okay, so anyway, that 420, what I've got is I've got a bunch of number jumps up here in the green that we'll go through really, really quickly, and we'll see some interesting dates. And what I've done here is, again, when you're balancing something, see I've got my cross here, what I want to do is I want to split that set of numbers, or that 420, into 4 different parts. Okay, so I've got an opposite, and then the opposites are split again, because that's the cross, that's balance, yeah? So that's the thing that represents balance, right? So we're going to look at 4 quarters. Again, that's really important, especially with America and the money system, with the quarter. I don't know if there's any other places that do that. I don't know. That aren't sort of an Americanized country already. But anyway, where are we going down? Because you're waffling. Okay, so this is what this 210 is down here. This is half of 420, and then half it again to get our quarters. is 105. So 105 again is a really important number as well, because 105, 9/11 through to Christmas is 105 days, just out of interest there. And obviously the 210, loads of references with 210, and obviously the start of this cycle is 210. And if you go to the 12th point, so we're, there's 12/21 there. That was the solstice, and the old Tetris guy just did his kill screen on that date, So anyway, it's, pretty mental, but that's what we're doing. We're going to do some quarter jumps, and we'll just go through them, right? So this first one that I've got up here, which is 90,140 days, is basically the full cycle, which is the sidereal cycle here of 90,560 minus the 420. So this is the difference between the two. So we're going from July the 4th, 1776, okay? And what I'm not explaining why we're going from that date, because this is what people have been looking at, okay? And what happens is, this is the return of Pluto, okay? Back to when the United States was essentially founded, right? Or its birthday, if you like. So it's all to do with birthdays. And through to Donald Trump's birthday, 90,560, which equates to this down here. And this is Donald Trump's birthday, okay, from, the 4th of July, 1776. So that is really interesting. Now, I'll tell you what else is interesting, is if we do the other cycle now, get rid of some of this, we're going to go to the beginning cycle, which is to do with the cyanotic, and this is our number jump, 90140, and that's going to take us to 4/21/2023. If the Queen had still been alive, I think she'd have been 97 this year. I might be wrong on that, but anyway, this is the Queen's birthday, basically, and we already know that that's the twin date for 9/11, okay, and also this connection with Q and Donald Trump, just mental. And what have I got here? What the hell does that mean, Dan? I don't know why I got that there. Oh, that's cyanotic. Okay. So that's the first number jump, and then we're going to go 105 days on. So this will be a quarter. Now this is like the quarter right here. Okay. So that's like a quarter. Write the whole thing in. That's like a quarter day jump there, and that's going to take us to 8/4. Okay, and back in 2020 we had the that massive Beirut bomb, so this is really interesting as well. And then this will be the midway point. Very good, Dan, you've written mid there. And that is the 17th of November 2023. Again, the 17th of November, you know what the twin date for that is? When we come back through to the other side of the year, it is the big day itself. It's encoded in the dollar bill, I believe. 213. Okay. So this is really interesting. So 213 obviously is the start of Lucas numbers. This is why it's so important. It's in the dollar bill. And the reference in the dollar bill actually connects back to 9/11. Okay. I believe it's a 155-day jump, and you can count the leaves and berries between the two, and it's all there. Okay. So that's very interesting, and that's the number jump is actually going from, don't know if I clarified that, but it's going from 213 back to 9/11, not to the 11th of September. That has huge significance for me. That day there is hugely significant in my own life, through family members' birthdays. Now, do another 105 days. So this is the other quarter right here. Okay, and this is the 1st of March, and that is this is a handover date, if I'm remembering correctly. I hope I'm getting that right actually now. But this is the handover date for the Hoover Dam. Okay. There's two main dates for the Hoover Dam. One is the 30th of September, 1935, and the other one is this 1st of March, 1936. And I've got some interesting number jumps, and this is what it's all about, this Hoover Dam thing. And actually, the interesting number jumps that tie into this happen to take us to 211 this year, which is Super Bowl Sunday. So this is pretty interesting. This number here happens to take us to this number here, using some other encoding with the Hoover Dam. I'm going to leave that there for talking about that, because I don't want to bog the video down with that. And then of course we're back to old DT here, Donald Trump. And so one little thing that I want to add into here is the difference between those 2 days. You know, as you're going from 2023 to 2024, obviously is 420 days. But if you just go to the same calendar year and essentially go the other way, so you're just going from, well, not going the other way, but you're just going one calendar year, right? So between those 2 dates ends up being 54 days. Okay, so 54 days gives us a midpoint of 5/18, the 18th of May, right? You may watch a channel called We Seek We Find. He does a ton of stuff. He's got a ton of stuff for 5/19, and it's a very interesting number. 5/19, it shows up a hell of a lot, and 5/9 shows up a lot as well. In fact, I think there's even there's a Pluto reference to 5/9. I can't remember what it was. Something in there with 5/9. Anyway, what I just want to point out, like, we were going up to this part of the, the table here. I just want to point out this 521. Those numbers, the 21st of May. Okay, but those numbers also identify with Christmas. The number 5 and the number 2 and the number 1. Okay, and those numbers are at the top of the dartboard. Okay, top of the dartboard. And again, there's several different references with the dartboard that I've talked about before, but this is really interesting with this, number 13, which I've been seeing a ton of lately. I don't want to go into it now, and in fact I could probably just tell you it very, very quickly, but I don't really want to. Tyreek Hill. Oh, that sounds like I said Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is he's a football player for the Miami Dolphins. Okay, he used to be a Chiefs player, and he's switched. He wears the shirt number 10, right? His house recently caught fire on the 3rd of January. Okay, and he is born on March the 1st. Now, during the game, 2 players got injured, one with a 31 shirt and one with a 13 shirt. Okay, I can't think, was there any more 13s with that? But this was just interesting. It was in the news, and the idea of the house burning down, and I think he had a leg cast on as well at the time when he showed up in the news. What that means, I'm not quite sure. But anytime I see people with stockings on or leg things, I'm always thinking about I'm thinking about the Twin Towers or the letter L, referenced. So I don't know what that might mean, but there's probably a ton of other meaning to it. But anyway, we'll just throw that in at the end there, just because I've been seeing a lot of 31 stuff lately. I think I'm going to leave it there. Otherwise, this will be too long a video. But anyway, thanks to all those people that are doing all the, the Pluto stuff. Thanks to all those guys. And yeah, I'll catch you on another one here really soon, hopefully. Cheers. All right, bye.